Okay, so I'm going to spend this second video. Here, let me see if it's being shared. All right, so I'm going to spend this next clip here talking about the background of the space, right? The public health space in Canada and what it looks like. So um, where should I start? Okay, so how it looks right now is you have different levels of government, so federal, provincial, municipal, that provide funding to different organizations, profit and nonprofit, right? So the funding that's provided these organizations um, um, allows them to support education, public health education initiatives. So public health and public health education as an umbrella means things like this. It means things like um, providing counselors in schools so that kids that are at risk don't do drugs. It means having police and the patrol on the streets so that people don't drink and drive. It means having preventative health programs so that people don't smoke. A plethora of other different initiatives that I can't speak on specifically. And right now we're working in the public health education space. So that deals with a bit of a younger crowd because, as we know, right, um, the best way to save a life is actually not after they end up in the hospital or after they've been consuming for so long. It's actually education. It's much earlier on. It's the least expensive, the most effective to educate rather than to remediate when they're already smoking or drinking or treat when they're already damaged by it. Like, for example, a car accident, they're smoking, they have cancer, they have issues in the family, they have depression, anxiety, suicide, mental illnesses. That's too late, and it's much more expensive and much more straining on the public health system to deal with things here. So we're working right here, and we're using technology to even scale and improve that process right here, right? Okay. So within this bucket of public health education, let me bring this bucket here and let me expand on this, okay? So you have different organizations at all levels of government that are receiving funding from all levels of government to run different initiatives. Now, what is an example of these initiatives and what do they look like right now? So right now we know um, they look like programs where experienced health experts will go to different schools, go to different high schools, and bring out a big PowerPoint, teach kids about what the health effects of cannabis is, long-term use of cannabis is, and alcohol does to your brain, and give them like paper pamphlets and manuals, and also engage them with a number of games, right? So you know that's being deployed across the country right now, and that's traditionally been the method. So we have different organizations working in that space, doing the same type of thing. There we have on the other hand, we actually I won't talk about that. But anyway, so that's the small scope of what we're dealing with. Organizations, nonprofit organizations that have educators that go around to schools and educate them on the effects of cannabis and the effects of drinking, driving, all of those health effects right there, right? And so, so where we fit into this ecosystem is we are developing the technology to be implemented at these schools. Obviously we don't have the staff or the expertise to teach the kids and go to each individual school directly, nor as is it effective to do that ourselves. So as a tech company, we're developing the technology to be used. We're not implementing the technology ourselves. That being said, if you have a game application and you don't have a way to distribute it, then it's completely useless. That being said, these partners are going to be very, very crucial in the next 6 to 10 months because we need them to be able to implement these technologies. We need to use them as a distribution network to implement these technologies. Otherwise, we will fail. We do not have implementation experience. We do not have experience working directly with youth, and so we'll ultimately just fail. And so these relationships are crucial for technologies to succeed in any way. These organizations need to be a part of the solution. We need to develop these relationships and stay with them very closely throughout our entire development of the technology, or we will fail, period. That's all I'll say, right? Um, so two organizations I'll throw right at you right now are MAD Canada, Mothers Against Drunk Driving Canada. That's number one. And number two is Operation Springboard. So there are two organizations right now that are bringing educators, public health experts across the country right now to educate on the effects of cannabis on youth. So they already have the infrastructure in place. They already have the human labor, the people, the experts to go out to different schools, right? So where our technology comes into play is we develop it, we understand what makes better engagement, then we take this technology, we give it to the hands, we give it to these organizations, and these organizations, we tell them how to teach, we tell them how to implement it, we tell them how to best use it, and then these organizations will implement them to the different youth. That being said, we are not we're not we 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 are in partnership with these nonprofits, but we're not serving them. We're serving the youth. So on top of all that, we need to be engaging with youth and signing out surveys, hearing about what they think about the game as it's being developed and while it's being developed. So they're going to be a big part of the puzzle too, as well as obviously the federal government who will be providing this funding to us. So a lot of different players here for you to consider. I've drawn out a map. I'm going to send you a map of who the different players are so that you have a better sense. But what the next 3 to 6 months will look like, considering all of that, is basically a lot of cold outreach. Cold outreach being the connection hasn't been made yet to the different organizations, different public health experts. So when I say public health experts, I mean the experts that know more about both the science, of health, and as well as how people receive public health knowledge the best. So what is the best way to deliver this education? So um, communicating with public health experts, building relationships with the nonprofits, as I said, Operation Springboard and MAAD, Mothers Against Drug Driving Canada, building those relationships so that they can release and implement our technology, building relationships with education technology companies to understand how they measure and scale these technologies, how they measure progress, how they measure success of an application. For example, okay, we implement this game. How do we know it's successful? How do we know people are using it? How do we know people are actually learning from it? Right? We need a way to measure it, and ed tech companies will be key here. Um, Game development companies, obviously, you know, we'll be working directly with a game development company, but we'll also need to be communicating with many game development companies to hear their feedback on what makes an effective game. Remember here, we need to develop great product. We need to develop product that our end users will use, and so we need to stay close. As much as we're close to the nonprofit space, the public health space, we need to stay close to the for-profit game developers because they have the best idea of what makes a good product. Um, as you might know, for-profit organizations are really great at developing great products. So, or at least in some ways, right? Um, yeah. So there's different buckets of organizations there that you will be reaching out to. Here's an important note. I will be setting up a Google Sheets, and within that Google Sheets, you'll have a list of organizations we need to reach out to. And Yeah, you'll just reach out to them individually. I'll tell you what we need from each organization. I'll tell you how to write and structure these emails, and I'll tell you what we need uh, uh, from each organization. So that will all be clear to you. I will make that clear, and so that's okay. And besides that, basic follow-up email. So if someone is asking for something, asking for a file to be sent over, then you'll be like, hey, yeah, I've CC'd Mark into it. He'll have it right to you by the end of the day, for example. Um, if someone wants to set up a meeting, then you book that meeting in with me, and you book in that calendar, for, book in that meeting into my calendar, right? And so and then you send them the meeting invite. You ask them, hey, um, is 10 p.m. is 10 a.m. great for you? Um, question mark, best, Mirhana, enter, send, and then you also send out a meeting invite uh, for both of us, both the person meeting with us and me, and then that's pretty straightforward and simple. Just professionalism is key there, and efficiency is key. So um, one small thing that I'll share is never ask people when they're free. Never ask people when they're free. In this line of work here, just give them a time, and then if they're free, then they're free. If they're not free, then they'll offer up another time. That's the way I like to work as well. So, for example, you send an email to public health to organization A saying, "Hey, we'd like your ideas on some of the work we're doing. Can we set up a call?" They say yes. You respond. Um, by the way, I should be CC'd into all of these emails. You respond. You say, "Hey, um, we have an open slot at 11 a.m. If this works for you, please let me know." Um, give me 1 second. Sorry, give me 1 second. Hello? Hello? Okay, okay, got it, got it. Yeah. Cool. Yeah, yeah. Yo, yo, E-man. E-man, E-man. Outside. Yeah. Okay, sorry, I just got a little interrupted there. What was I talking about? Oh, I hate losing my train of thought. Um, so they say yes, 11 a.m. works for me. Then you set that meeting, you adjust that calendar invite, you confirm with both of us, and that's good. You need to send out a confirmation email. Hey, just confirm our meeting at 11 a.m. We'll be meeting via Google Hangouts, which is what I want to meet in. So um, just make sure that's clear as well, right? Google Hangouts. So that's what else should I say here? Sending an email 1 hour in advance before the meeting and saying, "Hey, just to confirm, our meeting for 11 a.m. 1 hour from now is still on," um, and making sure that that reminder or that notification goes through. So that is also important. That you need to send that email notification to make sure both parties, make sure everyone's looped in and everyone's um, in the conversation. That's important. We'll see. We'll play. We'll learn. There's a lot of things. There's a lot of things we'll learn together as we tackle this beast. And so I'm expecting a lot of these questions to come up as we develop and as we go on. A lot of questions will come up. This is not meant to be a comprehensive conversation over everything. So yeah, I think that should be everything for now. I'll add that list of organizations we're looking to reach out to, and then we'll see what goes. I'm feeling incredibly tired right now. I will go to sleep So I hope your family is doing well. I hope everything is going great. Again, Happy New Year, and I hope to talk to you soon. Okay, Mirhana, appreciate it. Bye bye.